first thing humanity learned about the galaxy was that we were not alone. The second thing we learned was that almost everyone else was afraid of us, not because of our weapons, not because of our population, and certainly not because humanity was the oldest or most advanced civilization in the galaxy. We were none of those things. The reason was buried beneath 6 billion years of galactic history, hidden in ruins that no living civilization completely understood. Every extinct species had left behind the same warning. 3 words: never wake Earth. For centuries, scholars believed it was a myth. Then humanity discovered the first dead civilization. The planet was called Vera, although nobody knew what the original inhabitants had called it. From orbit, it looked peaceful. Blue oceans covered most of its surface, surrounded by pale continents and enormous white deserts. There were no cities, no satellites, no radio signals, no artificial lights, nothing. The planet had been dead for almost 12,000 years. Dr. Elias Vance stood inside the exploration vessel Horizon and stared at the world through the observation glass. "There's something wrong," he said. Commander Mara Chen glanced at him. "With the planet?" "No, with the records." She looked at the holographic display. The archaeological scans were extraordinary. Beneath the surface of Vera were the remains of a civilization that had once possessed technology far beyond anything humanity had encountered. There, cities had been built inside mountains. There, ships had crossed interstellar distances without conventional engines. There, computers had apparently predicted stellar events thousands of years in advance, and yet the Verans had vanished, every single one. No war scars, no nuclear explosions, no biological contamination, no evidence of evacuation. They had simply disappeared. Mara folded her arms. "What's wrong with the records?" Elias enlarged the oldest surviving inscription. "It isn't a historical record." "What is it?" "A warning." The bridge became silent. Elias translated the symbols. The message appeared in English. "We were here. We were strong. We thought we understood the galaxy. We were wrong. Then we found Earth and we made the mistake of waking it." Mara stared at the words. "Earth?" Elias nodded slowly. "Our Earth." That discovery changed everything. Humanity had been exploring the galaxy for less than 200 years. We had encountered hundreds of intelligent species, established colonies on dozens of worlds, and joined the galactic conquered. According to every official historical database, Earth had never contacted the Verans. The two civilizations had never even existed at the same time. The Verans disappeared 12,000 years ago. Human civilization was barely old enough to have invented agriculture. So how could an extinct alien civilization have known about Earth? The answer came 3 days later. Under the ruins of the Veran capital, the Horizon's excavation team found a sealed chamber. There was no door, no entrance, no mechanism, just a perfectly smooth black wall buried beneath 4 kilometers of stone. Elias touched it. The wall, and not mechanically, it simply stopped being solid. Inside was a room containing one object, a sphere. It was smaller than a human, fist are black, completely featureless, and when Elias approached it, the sphere spoke. Not in Veran, not in any alien language, in English. "Do not wake Earth." Nobody moved. Then the sphere continued. "Earth is sleeping." Mara raised her weapon. "Who are you?" The sphere ignored her. "You will believe humanity discovered the galaxy." "But you did not." The lights in the room flickered. "You were discovered." The sphere projected an image into the star system appeared, then another, then thousands, then millions. Galaxies spread across the chamber like an endless ocean of light, and in the center of them all was a single blue dot. "Earth," Elias whispered. "What are we looking at?" The sphere answered. "The sleeping world." Then the room went dark, the sphere disappeared, and for the first time in human history, the galactic Concord became afraid. The Concord consisted of 187 civilizations. Some were young, some were ancient. Few had existed for millions of years. The oldest known civilization was the Arukai, whose recorded history stretched back nearly 800,000 years. When the human delegation presented the Veyron message, the Arukai representative refused to speak. For almost 30 seconds, the alien simply stared at the screen. Then he said one sentence, "Where did you find that?" Elias answered, "Veyra." The Arukai representative stood. His hands were shaking. "You must destroy the coordinates." Mara frowned. "Why?" "Because someone else may learn what you have learned." What exactly did the Veyrons know? The alien looked directly at the human delegation. They knew what Earth is. Nobody spoke. Finally, the Galactic Council demanded an explanation. The Arukai representative lowered himself into his chair. "My species has preserved records from before the first great expansion. We were taught never to travel toward your star." "Why?" "Because of the warnings." "What warnings?" The alien hesitated. Every civilization that reached a certain level of technological development eventually encountered the same problem. Elias leaned forward. "What problem?" "Earth." The chamber erupted. Hundreds of alien voices filled the hall. Some demanded clarification. Others demanded that humanity surrender all astronomical data. A few demanded that Earth be quarantined. Then the Arukai representative raised his hand. Silence returned. "Every major civilization eventually discovered Earth," he said. "And every civilization that attempted to wake it disappeared." Mara looked around the chamber. "Define wake." The Arukai looked frightened. "We don't know." "Then how do you know?" "Because our ancestors saw what happened." He activated an ancient recording. The image was distorted. A fleet appeared above an unknown planet. Thousands of ships. Massive ships. Ships larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. Then the planet beneath them changed. At first, nothing happened. Then one light appeared. A single light on the surface. The entire alien fleet disappeared. No explosions, no battles, no debris, just gone. The recording ended. "That was the last time anyone approached Earth," the Arukai said. Mara stared at the screen. "What happened to the civilization that sent that fleet?" The answer came quietly. "They were the first to disappear." "And the second?" "Disappeared." "The third?" "Disappeared." "How many?" The Arukai looked at her. "All of them." The Concord voted unanimously. Humanity would be quarantined. No human ship could travel beyond the Sol system. No alien ship could approach Earth. No research into Earth's ancient history would be permitted. The decision should have terrified humanity. Instead, humans became curious. Because there was one problem. Nobody had actually explained what Earth was. The Concord knew what Earth could do. They didn't know why. So humanity began digging. Not on Earth. Under Earth. The first discovery was made in Antarctica. A kilometer beneath the ice, researchers found an artificial structure. It was older than human civilization. Much older. Carbon dating suggested the structure had existed for at least 4 million years. Its walls contained no alien language. They contained mathematics, simple mathematics, numbers, patterns, and one repeated equation. Elias Vance stared at it for hours. Then he understood. "It's a clock." Mara looked at him. "A clock counting down to what?" Elias pointed at the final number. "Nothing." "What?" "The clock isn't counting down," he swallowed. "It's counting up." The number represented Earth's age, not geological age. Something else, a civilization age. Earth was not 4 million years old, but something had been measuring time. From the moment an unknown intelligence began monitoring the planet. The next discovery was worse. The structure contained a map. Earth was at the center. Around it were thousands of stars. Some were familiar, some were impossible. Every star was marked with a symbol. Dead, 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 all of them. Then Elias noticed something. There was one symbol that appeared again and again. It wasn't next to dead civilizations. It was next to civilizations that had vanished after contacting Earth. The symbol meant something very simple. Awakened. The scientists spent 6 months trying to understand what it meant. Then they found another chamber. Inside was a recording. This time, the speaker was human. A man stood in front of a camera. He looked ancient. Not alien. Human. He wore no uniform, no insignia, just a plain dark shirt. "My name is Daniel Voss." Elias stopped breathing. The recording continued. "If you're seeing this, then humanity has reached the stars," Mara whispered. "That's impossible." Daniel Voss continued. "You probably believe Earth evolved naturally." He smiled sadly. "It did. You probably believe humanity evolved naturally." A pause. "We did. But you probably don't understand why every civilization in the galaxy is afraid of you." The recording changed. A diagram appeared. Earth, the moon, the sun, then something beneath the planet. A network, thousands of structures, millions of kilometers of tunnels, not cities, not machines, something else. "Earth was never a weapon," Daniel said. "It was a prison." The recording ended. The room remained silent. For the next several hours, nobody spoke. Finally, Mara asked the question everyone was thinking. "What is imprisoned beneath Earth?" Elias looked at the map. "I don't know." Then every alarm in the facility activated. The ground shook, not from an earthquake, from something moving. Deep below them, something enormous. Every computer screen went black. Then one message appeared. "Wake sequence detected." Elias stared at it. "We didn't activate anything." Mara looked toward the floor. "Then who did?" A second message appeared. "External contact." A third. "Hostile." The entire facility went into lockdown. Outside, the sky turned red. Thousands of alien ships had entered the solar system. The Concorde had broken its own quarantine. Mara rushed to the command center. "Who are they?" The answer appeared on the tactical display. Erukai, Keth, Veyron descendants. 7 ancient civilizations, all of them. Every major military power in the galaxy had arrived. And they were not there to attack humanity. They were there to destroy Earth. The Galactic Council transmitted a message. "Humanity, this is your final warning." Mara activated the channel. "You have violated the quarantine," the alien commander responded. "You misunderstand." "Then explain." "We are not afraid of humanity." A pause. "We are afraid of what humanity is keeping asleep." Mara looked at Elias. "What do you want?" "Earth destroyed." The room went silent. "You can't destroy Earth," Mara said. "We know." The alien commander sounded almost relieved. "That's why we brought 12,000 ships." The invasion began. The first wave entered orbit. Human defense systems activated. Missiles launched. Railguns fired. Orbital platforms opened fire. But the alien fleet was too large. Humanity had never fought anything like it. Within 20 minutes, 3 orbital stations were destroyed. Within 40 minutes, the moon's defensive network was collapsing. Earth's governments prepared for the end. Then something strange happened. The alien fleet stopped. Every ship, every weapon, every engine, all of them froze. The solar system became completely silent. Mara looked at the tactical display. "What happened?" Elias was staring at the Earth. "It's waking up." The planet began to glow, not from fire, from beneath the surface. Blue lines appeared across every continent. They spread through oceans, across mountains, under cities. The lines connected, forming one enormous pattern around the planet. Then the moon moved, not naturally. It rotated, its surface opened, and beneath the lunar crust was a structure larger than the moon itself, an ancient machine, but it wasn't a machine. It was a door. The aliens began retreating. Thousands of ships turned around. The conquered commander screamed through the communications channel. "Run!" Mara stared. Run from what? The answer came from Earth. Every human communication device activated simultaneously. Every television, every phone, every satellite, every computer, every radio, one voice spoke. It was calm, human, ancient. "We are awake." The stars disappeared. For exactly 3 seconds, then they returned. But the alien fleet was gone. All 12,000 ships, gone. No explosions, no debris, nothing, just like the ancient recording. The Galactic Council fell silent. Humanity expected an attack. Instead, something unexpected happened. The voice spoke again. "You have been afraid of us for a long time." Elias stepped toward the communication console. "Who are you?" "I am Earth." Mara froze. The voice continued. "You call this planet your home. You call yourselves human. Both statements are true. Then what are you?" A pause. "I am the memory of everything that came before you." The images began appearing across every screen. Ancient civilizations, thousands of them. The Vayrans, the Arukai, the Keth, the forgotten species, all of them. Earth had watched them, not attacked them. Watched. Each civilization had reached the same point. They became powerful. Then they discovered Earth. Then they tried to control it. Then they disappeared. But the truth was different. Earth had never killed them. It had defended itself. The civilizations had attempted to awaken something beneath the planet. Something they believed would give them ultimate power. Something Earth had imprisoned long before humanity existed. Elias understood. The warnings weren't about humanity, the voice answered. No, they were warnings about what happens if someone wakes Earth. Correct. Why didn't you stop us from discovering the galaxy? Because you were never supposed to remain children. Mara looked at Elias. What does that mean? The voice continued. Humanity was created by Earth. The room froze, not genetically, not artificially. Humanity had evolved naturally, but Earth's ancient system had been designed to guide evolution, protecting certain genetic pathways, suppressing others. Humanity had been shaped by a dormant planetary intelligence without ever knowing it. Not controlled, prepared. For what? The voice answered before anyone asked. For the return. Suddenly, every sensor in the solar system detected something, a signal, coming from outside the galaxy. Elias looked at the display. That's impossible. Mara stepped beside him. What? Something is coming. The signal grew stronger. The ancient voice spoke one final sentence. The others were afraid of Earth because they believed Earth would destroy the galaxy. The planet's blue lines became brighter. They were wrong. A massive structure appeared at the edge of the solar system, then another, then thousands. Not ships, worlds, artificial planets. Each one larger than Earth, each one moving toward humanity. The Galactic Council screamed across every channel. Humanity, what have you done? Mara looked at the stars. For the first time, she wasn't afraid, because she finally understood the warnings. Earth had never been asleep because it was weak. Earth had been asleep because the galaxy was not ready for it to wake. And now something from beyond the galaxy had come looking for the one civilization that had survived every extinction. Humanity. Elias watched the approaching worlds. How many? The computer struggled to calculate. Approximately 4 million. Mara took a breath. How long until they arrive? The answer appeared. 3 days. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then every human communication network on Earth activated. The ancient voice returned, but this time, it didn't speak to the galaxy. It spoke only to humanity. Children of Earth. Across the planet, people looked toward the sky. You have spent your entire history believing survival was your greatest achievement. The oceans began to glow. The galaxy believed the same. Mountains trembled. They were wrong. The hidden structures beneath Earth began activating one by one, millions of them. We did not prepare humanity to survive the galaxy. The sky above Earth opened, not physically. Something far stranger happened. Space itself bent around the planet. Earth disappeared. For one terrifying second, every telescope in the galaxy lost sight of it. Then the planet returned. But it was no longer alone. Behind Earth stood something enormous, a fleet, not thousands of ships, not millions, billions. Ancient ships emerged from the darkness around the planet. Ships built by civilizations that had supposedly gone extinct. Vayran vessels, Keth warships, Arukai cruisers, machines from species whose names had been forgotten for millions of years. They had not been destroyed. They had been waiting, every extinct Civilization had left the same warning because every extinct civilization had eventually learned the same truth. Earth did not destroy its enemies. Earth inherited them. When a civilization attacked Earth, the planet defeated it. When that civilization realized its mistake, Earth offered it a choice: join humanity or disappear. Those who joined became the guardians of Earth. Those who refused became history. The ancient voice spoke once more. Humanity. Mara stood on the bridge of the horizon. Yes? You asked what Earth is. The stars around the planet began filling with ships. Earth is home. A pause. But home is not helpless. The alien fleet from beyond the galaxy crossed the final boundary. 4 million artificial worlds entered human space, their weapons charged. Their commanders expected a primitive species hiding behind one small blue planet. Instead, they saw billions of ancient warships. They saw a civilization that had been watching them for longer than their own histories could remember. And then every human ship received the same command. Not from a general, not from a government, not from a king, from Earth itself. Wake the fleet. Across the solar system, engines ignited. Mars opened. The moon opened. The oceans opened. The ancient structures beneath every continent opened, and humanity finally understood the meaning of the oldest warning in the galaxy. Never wake Earth. Because Earth had never been sleeping alone. It had been dreaming, and now the dream was over. The first alien world fired its weapon. Humanity answered. The galaxy watched as the darkness between the stars exploded into light, and somewhere, beyond the edge of known space, another civilization received the signal. 3 words. The same 3 words that had appeared in every dead civilization's final records. Never wake Earth. This time, however, there was something different. A 4th line appeared beneath the warning. Run because humanity was The galaxy had seen wars before. It had seen planets burn. It had seen stars collapse, but it had never seen Earth. Move, the blue planet was no longer sitting quietly. In the solar system, it was surrounded by an army that had existed before most living species had even evolved. Billions of ships waited in perfect silence. Mara Chen stood on the bridge of the horizon and watched them. She had spent her entire life believing humanity was alone in its struggle to survive. Now, she was looking at proof that humanity had never been alone. It had simply been asleep. How many ships are there? She asked. The computer answered. Unable to calculate, Mara frowned. Try again. I have. The answer made the bridge uncomfortable. The fleet was too large for human systems to count. Then, the enemy appeared. 4 million artificial worlds crossed the edge of the galaxy. They were not planets, they were weapons. Each one carried enough energy to destroy an entire star. System Elias Vance stared at the tactical display. They came prepared for a war. Mara shook her head. No. She looked at Earth. They came prepared for a massacre. The first enemy transmission arrived. A voice filled the bridge. You are surrounded. Mara almost laughed. It was the wrong thing to say to humanity. We know, she replied. You cannot defeat us. We don't know that. You have no idea what you are. Facing, Mara looked at Elias. Neither do they. The transmission ended. Then the enemy fired. 4 million worlds released their weapons at the same time. Space turned white. Every human telescope went blind. The energy wave traveled toward Earth. Should have destroyed everything. Instead, it stopped. 1 million kilometers from Earth. The weapons simply stopped moving. No explosion. No impact. They froze in space. Elias stared at the readings. The energy is being absorbed. By what? He looked at the planet, Earth. A strange pulse moved across the oceans. The enemy fleet suddenly lost power. One ship, then 1,000 millions of vessels went dark. The ancient fleet surrounding Earth remained completely untouched. Then one human ship moved forward. It was tiny compared with the alien worlds. Its captain opened a communication channel. This is the United Earth Defense Fleet. Mara listened. The captain continued. Your In our home, there was a pause, so we're asking you one last time. Leave. The alien commander laughed, then Earth spoke. The laughter stopped. A voice traveled through every communication system in the galaxy. You have been warned, the enemy commander shouted. Attack! The 4 million artificial worlds fired again, Earth answered. The planet's atmosphere disappeared. For 3 seconds, the entire world looked transparent. Every mountain, every ocean, every city, every human being, everything became visible beneath a vast network of glowing structures. Elias whispered the words. It's not a shield. Mara looked at him. What is it? A system. What kind? He stared at the readings. Something designed to control gravity. Then the impossible happened. Earth pulled, not the ship's, space. The enemy fleet began falling toward Earth. There was no direction anymore. Up, down, left, right, all. Meaningless. The artificial worlds were being dragged toward one point at Earth. The enemy tried to escape. Their engines activated. Nothing happened. They were trapped. Mara watched millions of ships disappear into the blue glow surrounding Earth. But they weren't destroyed. They were transported, one by one. The enemy fleet vanished. The battle lasted less than 7 minutes. 4 million worlds had entered human space. 7 minutes later, there was nothing left. The galaxy went silent. For the first time in recorded history, humanity had defeated an enemy without firing a single weapon. The Galactic Council demanded an explanation. Earth gave them one to leave humanity alone. That was all. No threats, no demands, no conquest, just 4 words, leave humanity alone. The Council agreed, but there was one problem. The enemy had not been destroyed. They had been sent somewhere, and Elias knew exactly where. The ancient map beneath Antarctica. He returned to the excavation facility. The black structure was still active. A new symbol had appeared. It represented a location beyond the galaxy. Elias stared at. They're alive. Mara stood beside him. How do you know? Because Earth didn't destroy them. Then where did it send them? The symbol changed. A new image appeared. Planet dark cold, covered in enormous structures. Elias recognized it immediately. That's where the first civilizations disappeared. Mara looked at him. You mean the extinct races? Yes. She took a slow breath. Then they weren't extinct. Elias shook his head. Not all of them. The chamber opened. A staircase appeared beneath them. It descended into darkness. Mara checked her weapon. How far? The computer couldn't answer. They went down, one level, then another, then another. The stairs seemed endless. After almost an hour, they reached a massive underground city. But there were no humans. There, the buildings were alien, thousands of years older than humanity, and every building contained the same symbol, Earth Mara. Touched one wall, a hologram appeared. A woman stood before them. She had silver skin and 4 eyes. Elias recognized her. Species, the Vayrons. The woman looked directly at them. If you're watching this, then we failed. Mara stepped closer. Failed at what? The Veyron woman answered, keeping Earth asleep. The hologram changed. A massive structure appeared. It looked like Earth, but it wasn't Earth. It was an artificial copy. A second planet, built around a black sphere. Elias stared. What is that? The Veyron woman continued. We discovered the truth too late. Our civilization believed Earth was the source of humanity. We were wrong. The image changed. The black sphere opened. Something moved inside. We learned that Earth is only the lock. Mara's expression changed. The lock? Yes. Then what's the prison? The Veyron woman looked afraid. The galaxy, the hologram disappeared. Nobody spoke. Then a deep vibration moved through the underground city. Something had heard them. Something beneath the structure. Mara raised her weapon. Elias, I know. The ground opened. A massive metallic object rose from beneath them. It wasn't alive, but it was moving. A voice came from it. Human Elias stepped forward. Who are you? I am the last guardian. Guardian of what? The machine turned toward Earth. The prison. Mara asked the question they had been avoiding. What is inside? The machine remained silent. Then it said something that terrified Elias more than any answer could have. Nothing. Mara frowned. Nothing. The prison contains nothing. Then why does it exist? The machine looked at them. Because nothing is what the galaxy fears most. Suddenly, the entire underground city activated. Thousands of ancient machines came alive. Lights appeared across the walls. The map of the galaxy returned. But this time, the stars were moving. Not randomly, they were forming a pattern, a giant circle. Earth sat in the center. Elias understood. Earth isn't the center of the galaxy. No, the machine replied. It's the center of the system. Mara looked at the map. What system? The machine answered. The system that keeps the universe asleep. Then every light went out. The machine disappeared, and Earth spoke again. This time, its voice sounded different, older, angrier. Humanity. Mara looked upward. What? Your enemies are returning. Elias checked the sensors. Nothing. Then the stars outside the underground structure began disappearing, one after another. Thousands, millions entire. Star systems went dark, Elias whispered. That's not possible, Earth answered. They have found another way, Mara asked. Who? There was a long silence. Then Earth gave them a name. The first. Every surviving civilization in the galaxy knew that name. The first, the civilization. Believed to have existed before the galaxy had been fully formed. The civilization that had disappeared without a trace. The civilization that every ancient species had feared. The civilization that had created the original. Warning, never wake Earth. Elias looked at Mara. Why would they be afraid of Earth? Earth answered before she could. Because they know what happens when Earth remembers. The planet shook. Across Earth, ancient structures opened, deep beneath the oceans, inside mountains, under deserts, beneath cities. Humanity had spent centuries building cities on top of them, without ever knowing they existed. Now they were waking. One structure rose from the Pacific Ocean, then another from Antarctica, then another beneath the Atlantic, across the planet. Ancient technology emerged, not weapons or ships, thousands of them, millions. The people of Earth watched the sky fill with impossible machines. Humanity had never built them. Humanity had never designed them. But somehow, every human computer understood them. Every ship opened its systems. Every cockpit displayed the same message. Welcome home. Mara stared at the display. Then she smiled. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of Earth's secret. She was afraid of what would happen to anyone who tried to take it. The Galactic Council received another message. This one came from the first. We are coming for Earth. The Council asked why. The first replied, because humanity has awakened the lock. The Council asked what was behind it. The answer was only 3 words: the sleeping. Diverse. Then the communication ended. Far beyond the galaxy, something opened its eyes, and Earth felt it. For the first time in millions of years, Earth was no longer the strongest presence in the darkness. Something older had awakened, something that even Earth feared. Mara looked toward the stars. How much time do we have? Elias checked the calculations. 36 hours, Mara nodded. Then we prepare. For what? She looked at the endless fleet forming around. Earth, for our first real war. The voice of Earth filled the bridge. No, Mara turned. Earth spoke again. This will not be a war. The planet began glowing. This will be a judgment. And somewhere beyond the edge of the galaxy, the first finally saw the truth. Humanity wasn't Earth's weapon. Humanity was Earth's successor. And for the first time in 6 billion years, Earth was no longer going to fight alone. 36 hours remained. Across Earth, governments stopped arguing. Military commanders stopped asking questions. For the first time in human history, every nation received the same message: prepare. Nobody knew who had sent it, but everyone understood it. Something was coming, and Earth was preparing humanity for it. Above the planet, the ancient fleet continued to grow. More ships appeared every minute. Some were shaped like enormous rings. Others looked like silver blades. Some were so large that they created their own gravity fields. Human scientists couldn't explain how they had survived for millions of years. They couldn't even explain where they had been hiding. Then Elias discovered something strange. The ships weren't coming from space. They were coming from Earth. They had been inside the planet all along. Deep beneath the oceans, inside the crust, under mountains. Some had been buried beneath human cities for thousands of years. Humanity had unknowingly built its civilization on top of a sleeping military network. Mara looked at the global map. How many? Elias checked the numbers. Still counting. That's becoming a habit. He almost smiled. Then every display suddenly changed. A message appeared. Incoming transmission. The source wasn't the first. It was the Varens. But the Varens were extinct. At least that's what everyone believed. The transmission opened. A Varen appeared on the screen. His face was older than the hologram they had discovered before. His eyes looked tired. His voice was quiet. Humanity. Mara stepped forward. Who are you? My name no longer matters. Where are you? Outside your galaxy. Elias froze. You survived. The Varen looked at him. Some of us did. Mara asked the question that mattered. Why didn't you return? The Varen looked toward something behind him. Because we were afraid. Of the first? No. He looked directly into the camera. Of Earth. The transmission became unstable. Mara stepped closer. What happened to your civilization? The Varen answered. We woke something. The screen flickered, and Earth put us back to sleep. The transmission ended. Nobody moved. Then Elias noticed something. The signal had not been sent from the Varen homeworld. It had come from a ship, a single ship, and it was moving toward Earth. Mara ordered the fleet to intercept it, but Earth stopped her. Allow it. The human fleet obeyed. Minutes later, the Varen ship entered Earth's atmosphere. It landed in the middle of the Pacific. A small door opened. 3 Varens stepped outside. They looked exhausted. They looked terrified. And they were carrying no weapons. Mara met them personally. The oldest Varen looked at her. You are human. Yes. He looked toward Earth. Then it's true. What? You survived. Mara frowned. Survived what? The Varen pointed toward the sky. The first awakening. Elias stepped forward. What does that mean? The Varen looked at him. Your ancestors already woke Earth once. Silence. Mara stared at him. Our ancestors, not your recent ancestors. He paused. Your first ancestors. Elias felt a chill. How old are humans? The Varen answered. We don't know. That's impossible. No. The Varen shook his head. What's impossible is that you still think humanity began on Earth. The words hit harder than any weapon. Mara looked at Earth. What are you saying? The Varen pointed toward the planet. Humans came here, Elias whispered. From where? The Varen looked at the stars. From the place the first destroyed. Before anyone could ask another question, the sky turned black. Not night. Not clouds. Something had blocked the stars. A massive structure appeared above Earth. It was larger than the moon. Then another appeared. Then another. The first had arrived. Every human defense system activated. But the ancient fleet didn't move. The Varen stepped backward. One of them whispered. They found you. Mara looked at the sky. Who? The Varen answered. The ones who made humanity. Then Earth's voice filled every radio on the planet. Do not attack. Mara stared upward. Why? Because they are not here to conquer Earth. A pause. They are here to reclaim it. The massive structure opened. A beam of white light struck the Pacific Ocean. The water rose into the sky. A circular hole appeared beneath the ocean. Something was coming upward. Something enormous. Elias looked at the readings. His face went pale. That's not a ship, Mara asked. What is it? Elias slowly answered. It's a doorway. The ocean split apart. A black doorway rose from beneath the Earth, and behind it was another sky, another galaxy, another Earth. Mara stared in disbelief. The Varen whispered the final warning. That is where humanity came from. Earth remained silent. For the first time, the ancient planet had nothing to say. And somewhere beyond that doorway, millions of lights began turning on, one after another, like an entire civilization waking from a sleep that had lasted longer than history itself. Then a voice came through the doorway, a human voice. Children of Earth. Mara looked at Elias. The voice continued, "We have been waiting for you." The doorway began opening wider, and behind it stood an army of humans. Not modern humans, not exactly. They were taller, stronger, covered in strange armor, and behind them stood billions of ships. The Vayrans lowered their heads. The first fleet began retreating. Elias could barely speak. "Who are they?" Earth finally answered. "The humans who came before you." Mara stared at the doorway. Then the ancient human army raised their weapons. The leaders stepped forward and said 4 words. "Earth has remembered everything." The sky shook. The doorway opened completely, and the war humanity thought was coming was no longer a war for Earth. It was a war for the truth of humanity itself. The doorway remained open above the Pacific. Billions of people watched the impossible world beyond it. It looked like Earth, but it wasn't. The continents were different. The oceans were darker, and above the planet hung thousands of enormous ships. The ancient humans had returned. Mara looked at their leader. "Who are you?" The man stepped forward. "My name is Kyle." He looked at Earth with tears in his eyes. "We were the first humans." Elias stared at him. "How is that possible?" Kyle smiled sadly. "Because your history is much shorter than ours." He explained everything. Millions of years ago, humanity had existed beyond the Milky Way. They had built cities among the stars. They had discovered the first, and they had made the greatest mistake in human history. They trusted them. The first were not aliens in the usual sense. They were architects. They could manipulate matter, gravity, time, even the laws of physics. They wanted to control the universe. Humanity refused to help them. So the first attacked. The war lasted thousands of years. Humanity lost, but before the final defeat, the first humans created one last sanctuary, Earth. They placed their most dangerous technology beneath the planet. Then they erased their own memories. They sent a small population to Earth. Those humans became the ancestors of modern humanity. Earth was programmed to protect them, not forever, only until humanity was ready. Mara finally understood. The warnings. Kyle nodded. Every civilization that discovered Earth eventually tried to steal its technology. And Earth stopped them. Yes. But why did they disappear? Kale looked toward the stars. Because Earth gave them a choice. Join humanity, or leave. Most chose neither. Elias looked at Earth. And the first? Kale's expression became serious. They never stopped searching. The sky suddenly shook. The first fleet returned. This time it was larger, much larger. Millions of artificial worlds appeared around the solar system, but humanity was ready. The ancient human fleet moved into position. Modern human ships joined them. For the first time, 2 generations of humanity stood together, the old and the new. Mara opened a channel. All human forces, hold formation. Billions of ships answered. Ready? The first commander transmitted. You cannot defeat us. Mara smiled. We've heard that before. The enemy fired. The ancient humans answered. The sky became a battlefield. Stars disappeared behind explosions. Artificial worlds broke apart. Ancient ships moved through space like lightning. Modern human fighters flew beside vessels that were older than Earth's oceans. For hours the battle continued. Humanity was losing. Slowly but steadily. Then Kale's voice came through Mara's command channel. Earth is ready. Mara looked at the planet. What does that mean? Kale answered. Move every ship away. Mara understood immediately. Everyone, the order spread across the fleet. Fall back, human ships retreated, ancient ships followed. The first fleet continued forward, straight toward Earth. Then Earth opened its eyes. The entire planet turned white. Every human being on Earth saw the same thing. A memory, not a vision. A memory. Humanity saw its first ancestors. They saw the original war. They saw the creation of Earth. They saw the first humans standing beneath the planet. And they heard the final command. Sleep. Then the memory ended. Earth went silent. The first fleet stopped. Their commander suddenly screamed. No, the Earth had remembered. Gravity changed. Every enemy ship began collapsing inward. Not physically. Their systems, their weapons, their artificial worlds. Everything the first had built began returning to its original state. Atoms, energy, dust, nothingness. The first tried to escape. There was nowhere to go. Earth had not attacked them. Earth had simply removed the technology they had stolen from the universe. One by one, their ships disappeared. The final commander remained. His enormous vessel hovered above Earth. He transmitted one final message. "What are you?" Earth answered. "Home." The vessel vanished. The battle was over. For several minutes nobody spoke. Then the ancient human fleet began shutting down. One by one the ships disappeared. Mara looked at Kyle. "Are you leaving?" Kyle nodded. "Our time is finished." "This is your home too." Kyle smiled. "No." He looked at modern Earth. "This is yours." His fleet entered the ancient doorway. Before leaving, Kyle transmitted one final message to humanity. Don't make our mistake. Don't become afraid of your own power. Don't try to rule the galaxy. Protect it. The doorway began closing. Mara watched him disappear. Then the Pacific Ocean became calm again. The ancient structures beneath Earth went silent. The hidden fleet vanished, and humanity was left alone. For the first time in millions of years, truly alone, but not helpless. The Galactic Council waited for Earth's next command. None came. Instead, humanity sent a message. We are not your rulers. We are not your gods. We are simply human. The council remained silent. Then one alien representative asked the question everyone wanted answered. What happens now? Mara looked toward Earth. Then she answered. Now we build. Humanity opened its borders. It shared technology. It helped restore worlds destroyed by the war. It rebuilt civilizations that had been abandoned. And for the first time, the galaxy began to understand the truth. The warnings had never meant that Earth was evil. They meant Earth was dangerous when threatened. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. Humanity protected it. Centuries passed. The story of Earth became legend. Children across alien worlds learned about the blue planet. They learned that humanity had once been young. They learned that humanity had once been afraid. And they learned that fear did not have to become hatred. One day, a young alien student asked her teacher a question. Is the old warning still true? The teacher looked toward the night sky. What warning? The student smiled. The one every extinct race left behind. The teacher laughed. No. Why? Because Earth isn't asleep anymore. Far away, on the surface of Earth, the sun was setting. Human cities glowed beneath the evening sky. Children played. Ships crossed the atmosphere. People looked toward the stars. And deep beneath the planet, something ancient remained awake. Not waiting for war. Not waiting for an enemy. Just watching, protecting, remembering. Because humanity had finally learned the truth. Earth was never a monster. Earth was never a weapon. Earth was home, and the greatest warning in galactic history had finally changed. It no longer said, never wake Earth. It said, never threaten the children of Earth, because if you do, Earth will remember, and humanity will answer. The battle was over. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy was silent. No enemy fleet remained. No ancient weapon was firing. Earth was simply there, floating beneath the stars. Mara stood on the bridge of the horizon and watched the blue planet. She finally understood why the extinct races had been afraid. Earth was powerful, but power had never been the real danger. The real danger was what someone might do when they became afraid of that power. Kyle's ancient fleet was preparing to leave. Before entering the doorway, he sent one final message to humanity. You are not our past anymore. You are our future. Then the doorway closed. The ancient humans were gone. The old civilizations were gone. The first were gone, and humanity remained. For several days, the galaxy waited. Everyone expected Earth to demand control. It didn't. Humanity did something completely unexpected. It opened its borders. Human ships began delivering food, medicine, technology, and supplies to the worlds damaged by the war. The same galaxy that had once feared Earth slowly began to trust it. The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. This time, nobody voted against humanity. Instead, the Council offered Earth a permanent seat. Mara rejected it. We don't need a throne. She looked at the assembled representatives. We need neighbors. The room remained silent. Then the Arukai representative stood. We accept. One by one, the others followed. Humanity had entered the galaxy as an unknown species. It had nearly become its greatest fear, but it chose something different. It chose to become its protector. Years passed. The ancient structures beneath Earth were sealed. Again, the hidden fleet disappeared. The people of Earth returned to their normal lives. Children went to school, ships traveled between planets, cities grew. Humanity continued exploring the stars, but one thing changed forever. Nobody called Earth a sleeping world anymore. The old warning was still remembered. Every extinct civilization had once written the same words, never wake Earth, but humans eventually discovered the missing sentence. It had been lost for millions of years. The complete warning was, never wake Earth unless you are ready to meet humanity, and that became the final lesson of the galaxy. Earth was not a weapon. Humanity was not a conquering army. They were simply a young species that had finally discovered where it came from. And what it discovered did not make humanity greater than everyone else. It made humanity responsible for everyone else. Mara returned to Earth years later. She stood beside the ocean at sunset. The waves moved quietly beneath the orange sky. For a moment, she remembered the first message, never wake Earth. She smiled. Maybe they were afraid of the wrong thing. Elias stood beside her. What do you mean? Mara looked toward the horizon. They thought waking Earth would end the galaxy. She paused. But waking Earth gave humanity a reason to protect it. Above them, a human spacecraft crossed the sky, then another, then hundreds. The future had begun, and deep beneath the planet, the ancient system remained silent, not asleep, awake, watching, waiting, but there was no enemy left to fight because humanity had finally learned the lesson its ancestors had forgotten. The greatest civilization isn't the one that can destroy everything, it's the one powerful enough to destroy everything and chooses not to. The galaxy remembered the old warning for another 1,000 years, but eventually, the words changed. They no longer said, never wake Earth. They said, respect Earth. Trust humanity. And if you ever hear the ancient voice beneath the planet, don't be afraid, because Earth is home and humanity is finally home too. The stars continued shining. The galaxy continued turning. And for the first time in 6 billion years, Earth was no longer waiting for war. It was waiting for tomorrow.